behalf of this, there we go, there it is. On behalf of this congregation, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Huntsville. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of Native tribes. Whether you've joined us online or you're here in our sanctuary, we're glad to have you with us in this sacred time that we choose to be together. We are an open community of learning, caring, and justice making, and you're welcome here. Every part of you just the way you are. Our congregation is served by our minister, Rev. Jamie Simon, who is currently away on sabbatical leave. Reverend Ruth Van Lillian serves as our sabbatical minister and is available for pastoral care or to answer questions about Unitarian Universalism. She may be reached by contacting the office. And today we have the nearly Reverend Rachel Rogers with us once again. Yay. Please take just a moment to silence your devices. If you have a joy or a sorrow or an important milestone that you would like shared during our circle of candles and included in the pastoral prayer, please write it down on one of these white cards that are in the rack in front of you. And this hot pink Post-it note is my reminder to say, please write legibly. Someone who has never seen your handwriting before will be trying to decipher it. You'll place those in the offering basket when they come your way later in the service. For community news and events, check our email newsletter, the website, or the paper insert on the inside of your order of service today. In the event of inclement weather or other emergencies, notices of cancellation of services and activities will be communicated via church-wide email and on our Facebook page. After the service, everyone is invited to join us here in the fellowship hall for coffee, snacks, and conversation. Finally, having gathered, I need to invite Anna up to ring the singing bowl. Very important. I would like to invite Anna DeLacy to come and ring the singing bowl. Sorceress. She has the power, doesn't she? Finally, having gathered in a shared quest for truth, meaning, and purpose, let us light our chalice with these words. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys, sorrows, gifts, and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life that we share together. Now, to help center yourself and quiet your mind, we'll have our music for centering, followed by our thread song, which is a new one. It's number 37 in your gray hymnal.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'm feeling especially welcome because I got a name tag, y'all. I'm official, I think I've been blessed to join you fairly regularly in worship for about 3 years now, and this was a nice little surprise this morning. Made me feel right at home. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rachel Rogers. I use they, them, or she, her pronouns, and I am here visiting you from Nashville, Tennessee. It is indeed my great pleasure to be with you in worship this morning. Our call to worship comes to us from Margaret Weiss. Come into this place with your whole self. The parts that are raw and exposed, the part that is beaming with joy, the part that is seeking the truth, the new, the possibility. Come into this place, open your heart, lay down your burden, lift up your hope for something new to happen. Come into this place with fellow travelers on the journey, some faces new and others familiar, all welcoming you here now to this moment. Come, let us worship together. And now, if you would, please rise in body or in spirit as you are so moved to join us in our opening hymn, which is one of my personal favorites and right in line with our theme of joy for this month. It's number 361 in the gray hymnal, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
If you will, remain standing. We're going to sing our doxology and have our words of aspiration there on the blue laminated card. It's our tradition when we get to the words of aspiration, if you'll turn toward the center aisle and address someone across from you. Let's sing. May love be the spirit of this church.
May the quest for truth be its sacrament, and service be its prayer.
To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration.
please be seated. I'd like to invite the young and the young at heart, or anybody who needs a fidget break, to come on down for the story for all ages.
On the floor, please. Good morning. This month, our theme is joy. And so I chose this book because I think it helps us give other people joy. The Boy with the Flowers in His Hair by Jarvis. The boy with flowers in his hair. His name is David. He is the boy with flowers in his hair, and he is my best friend. Everybody likes David, even Mrs. Jones, and flowers make her sneeze. He's sweet and gentle, just like his petals. Yes. It's cold? Okay. We're going to go another room where it's warmer in a minute. We have the best time together, finding the good puddles, making up songs, and running away from the bees. Once, he had a family of birds living in his hair for a whole month. It was really funny. But one day, something happened. I was watering David's hair, and one of his petals came off in my hand. That afternoon, he didn't want to play. The next day, he started wearing a hat, and David never wore hats. He was quiet, and David was never quiet. Miss Jones asked us to take off our coats and our hats and scarves. David took off his, and petals fluttered down like butterflies. David was twiggy, spiky, and brittle, like easily breakable. Everyone stayed away in case they got hurt by his branches. I got a few scratches, but it wasn't David's fault. Then I had an idea. I asked Miss Jones for a paintbrush and some scissors, and I found a way to give David his color back. I made new flowers for David all the time. Everybody wanted to help. David seemed back to how he was before. Almost. But then one day, I noticed a different flower in David's hair. It wasn't one of mine. It wasn't one of anyone's. It was David's. It was a real flower, a new flower, prettier than ever. You want to see? It's that one right there. More and more of David's own flowers started to bloom, and soon enough, all those buzzy bees were back. So right now, David has lots and lots of flowers in his hair, but I'm making sure I still have lots of paper ones just in case he ever needs them. Because he's my best friend, and I am his. It's a good story. What's your question?
Is the flowers literally his hair?
Yeah. Yeah, the flowers are his hair. So how did the little boy...
Flowers in his hair.
Oh. I don't know.
Yeah. So how did the little boy help David feel better? Yes.
Making them best friends. He made flowers. He made flowers. Paper flowers.
Hang on.
He got some flowers. He gave him some paper.
Yeah, he made paper flowers.
And then he got some paper. And then he made paper flowers. And then that became his hair until.
The paper flowers became his hair until his real flowers grew back.
Yeah.
So do you think that maybe the flowers symbolize joy?
Yes.
Okay. Let us now sing our children out.
Well, if you didn't know, we are the Unitarian Universalist Church of Huntsville, proudly inclusive, and together we build a broader search for meaning, a bolder form of compassion, a braver voice for justice. If you would like to support us with a monetary contribution, we would be grateful. Your generosity helps us support our various ministries, pay our staff a fair wage, and partner with organizations that share our UU values. You can donate online using the QR code in your order of service, or you can put cash or check donations in the offering baskets. The completed Circle of Candles cards, where everyone wrote really legibly, can be placed in the offering baskets at this time as it comes your way. You're invited now to come forward and quietly drop a stone into the bowl of water here next to the ramp in honor of a memory or something that you hold in your heart. It's through your generosity that we're able to serve our mission here at UUCH. With gratitude, we now receive the offering.
Please join me in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life and love, God of many names, we gather here in awe and in reverence, in gratitude for the connection you offer us all. We are thankful for the interconnected web, the infinite series of choices, happenstance, blessings, sorrows, and precious accidents that have all conspired to bring us to this place and this community in this moment. We gather in the spirit of welcome. We welcome each other into this community, and we extend that welcome to ourselves with every single thing that comes with it, the joys, the concerns, the celebrations, and the grief, those shared and those held close and silent. We know that every single day, every moment, we hold the truth of joy and the truths of suffering simultaneously. May we be present to them. May we be present for Andrea Atwood with this joy. So happy to be here in this like-minded, like-hearted community. I am joyful to have found you. Let us be present with Barbara Hitt. Healing thoughts for my brother-in-law who had his leg amputated below the knee due to an infection he has been fighting for 1.5 years. He is a doctor and hoping to return to his practice. And with Jaylee, please send positive thoughts and vibes to therapists holding space for others and trying to also find space not to be okay themselves sometimes. Let us be moved to compassion for all that has been shared into this beloved community and for all that will remain silent, unspoken in our hearts. And let us say, blessed be and amen. And now will you join us in singing our responsive music, number 1009, in the Teal hymnal, Meditation on Breathing.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. And now we'll sing our middle hymn, number 1051 in the Teal hymnal. And we're going to stand to do this, by the way, but first I'll introduce it a little bit. So I really love this because it kind of talks about our place in the universe and also the linear progression of ancestors to us to descendants. And so I love this. But anyway, let me tell you about the repeats. We are going to take the repeat on the first page. We are not going to take the repeat after the long section in the middle. And then at the end, we will take that repeat just once. Okay? Everybody stand, please, as you are able and moved to do so. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the death of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are grandmother's prayers, and we are our godfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our youth sisters. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Thank you.
I do love that song very much. I have a reading for you this morning. Our reading actually comes from the exact same book I brought a reading from last time, which I didn't realize until I went to copy the order of service over from the last time I was with you. But the book is one that's quite important to me. It's called Consolations, The Wit, Wisdom, and Underlying Meaning of Everyday Words. It's by a poet named David White. And the portion I'll read to you this morning is aptly titled Joy. Joy is a meeting place of deep intentionality and of self-forgetting, the bodily alchemy of what lies inside us in communion with what formerly seemed outside but is now neither, but become a living frontier, a voice speaking between us and the world. Dance, laughter, affection, skin touching skin, singing in the car, music in the kitchen, the quiet, irreplaceable, and companionable presence of a child. The sheer intoxicating beauty of the world inhabited as an edge between what we previously thought was us and what we thought was other than us. Joy can be made by practice, hard-won achievement, as much as by an unlooked-for passing act of grace arrived out of nowhere. Joy is a measure of our relationship to death and our living with death. Joy is the act of giving ourselves away before we need to or are asked to. If joy is a deep form of love, it is also the raw engagement with the passing seasonality of existence, the fleeting presence of those we love understood as a gift, going in and out of our lives, faces, voices, memory, aromas of the first spring day or a wood fire in winter, the last breath of a dying parent as they create a rare, raw, beautiful frontier between loving presence and a new and blossoming absence. To feel a full and untrammeled joy is to have become fully generous. To allow ourselves to be joyful is to have walked through the doorway of fear, the dropping away of the anxious, worried self felt like a thankful death itself, a disappearance, a giving away, overheard in the laughter of friendship, the vulnerability of happiness felt suddenly as a strength, a solace, and a source. The claiming of our place in the living conversation, the sheer privilege of being in the presence of a mountain, a sky, or a well-loved familiar face. I was here, and you were here, and together we made a world. So ends our reading. So, I was here, and you were here, and together we made a world. It's hard for me to approach the subject of joy without also maybe giving the caveat in the middle that yes, I know there is so much heartache in the world. There is so much worry. There is so much in front of us on scales large and small that can feel overwhelming. There's no denying this. There's no skirting around it. There's no pretending that it's not the case. So why then, or how, do we tackle a service, let alone a month of services, on joy? In times when focusing on the joy of life can seem frivolous or unhelpful, times when the pain and fear in the world can seem insurmountable, there is likely no better practice, no medicine that is needed more than a conscious exercise intended to remind ourselves what indeed does make this life so wild and precious, and why indeed joy is one of the needed ingredients when we are doing the work, to lean on Adrian Rich, of reconstituting the world. So today, I do indeed want to talk about joy, but not as a fleeting emotion, not as something we chase when we have the time, not even as a reward for having done everything right, but as a spiritual practice, as a discipline, a choice, a way of being in this world that we make together. Now, some of us may be used to thinking of joy as something spontaneous, something that just happens to us when things go well. As David White reminded us in our reading, joy can be made, though, by a practiced, hard-won achievement as much as by an unlooked-for, passing act of grace arrived out of nowhere. So what if, my friends, joy is not something that we receive, but also something that we build, something that we tend to, like a garden? To shift gears for just a second, let me take a stab at defining what joy is not, at least as I'm thinking about it today. In this context, joy is not the same as happiness. Happiness often depends on circumstances, how things are going in our relationships, our jobs, our health, etc. It comes and goes like the weather, like thoughts. But joy, or joy as I'm thinking about it today, has a deeper current. It doesn't ignore pain or suffering. It doesn't ask us to pretend that everything is okay. In fact, joy often coexists with grief, with fear, even with exhaustion. Each of us has likely laughed through tears or felt awe in the midst of loss. That's joy, insisting on presence, even in the darkness. In that sense, in a moment when many of us are focused on how to do the work of resistance in these days where the shadow of authoritarianism and oppression looms large, joy itself is an act of resistance. It says, I will not let the hardest parts of life define the whole of it. It says, even now, even here, there is beauty, there is wonder, there is delight. Practicing joy is one way that we can affirm our inherent worth and dignity. We believe that each of us has a spark of the divine within us, our own star that speaks to the universe who we are. Practicing joy is a way to honor and tend to that sacred spark, to stoke the fires of love that fuel us in our work and our long labor of building the world we know rightly belongs to us and that we want to give to each other. When we're practicing joy, we're saying yes to life, even when it's painful. We're saying yes to presence, even when forces outside of ourselves are determined to keep us distracted. We're saying yes to connection, even when the world feels fractured. Joy invites us to wake up, to look around and notice the wonders around us. Now, one of the greatest teachers of this lesson in my own life was my friend Pam. There's no way I haven't mentioned Pam to you before. If I didn't say her name, I was at least thinking about her as I shared something that she likely taught me. Now, Pam was, my technology is not cooperating with me today. Sorry, I'm like swiping up here like a crazy person. Pam, my dear Pam, was first diagnosed with breast cancer in her early 30s. She then spent 30 years living with cancer and the ebbs and flows of remissions and recurrences. Now, I met Pam about 10 years before she passed away. Pam had learned so much about presence and patience in her life. She had learned how to prioritize moments of joy because she had been driven to understand how precious they were, as she oriented herself to the reality that her life would be shorter than she had once imagined. Pam commonly dropped easy adages with this wonderful, warm Southern accent. Her adages like, be where your feet are, which she said to me all the time. I carry it with me to this day. I think every time I talk to you about Buddhism and presence, and it started with her telling me to be where my feet were. She broadcasted her life rule to everyone that she loved, that she would never pass up an opportunity to dance, and she would grab your hand and pull you right on the dance floor with her, even if you looked immovable in your chair. If she knew you could do it, she would pull you out there. She lived out the promise that she made to herself and her loved ones that she would always show up when someone else was in need. Whether that meant sitting at a bedside, volunteering at a fundraiser, or as a real example from my own experience, making the trek up to Washington, D.C. for my wedding, even though she wasn't feeling all that well, because she knew how much I loved her. Pam taught me that miracles happen constantly, and that we only don't see them because we're not paying attention. Just as my dear friend Pam did, Joy invites us to wake up, to look around and notice everyday miracles. The sunlight slanting through a window, a child's laugh, the smell of coffee when you're up at 5 a.m. to do homework before everybody else wakes up. A stranger holding the door. These moments are not small. They are the very fabric of a life fully lived. So how do we make joy a practice? We start by noticing. And noticing is spiritual work. It means paying attention, training our minds and our hearts to see what is already there. The poet Ross Gay wrote an entire book about this, the Book of Delights, chronicling small joys each day for a year. He said that the more he looked for delights, the more he found them, not because the world had changed, but because he had changed. And we too can cultivate that practice, taking a moment each day to name something that brings us joy. Some people journal it, some people say it out loud over dinner, some people pause silently before bed and whisper thank you to the universe. Whatever the form, the practice works, not because it erases hardship, but because it reorients us toward the light. And now another dimension of joy is that it wants to be shared. Have you ever noticed that? When you experience something beautiful or hilarious or moving, your first instinct is to tell someone, right? Look at this sunset, right? I need you to listen to this song. Have you read this book? Please watch this cat video, right? Like we are constantly sharing moments of joy. Sharing joy connects us. It reminds us we're not alone. In a world that can feel isolating, joy invites us back into relationship. And in community, like in this one, we get to celebrate not only our own joys as we just did, but each other's. We become stewards of each other's delight. Let's be honest, though, sometimes joy feels hard to access. Maybe we're grieving, maybe we're burned out, maybe the news of the world has left us numb, and that's okay. Joy also does not ask us to force it, but it does ask us to make space for it to exist. Joy needs margin. It needs quiet. It needs breathing room. If our lives are so full of doing, striving, worrying, fixing, there's not so much room for joy to slip in. So maybe another part of the practice beyond noticing, beyond sharing, is also unplugging. Maybe it's walking slowly, saying no, lighting a candle, leaving space for laughter, for music, for a long exhale. Joy is not efficient in a world that demands efficiency. It doesn't arrive on a schedule. It needs time to bloom. And at its core, I believe that Unitarian Universalism is a joyful faith. Not because we ignore suffering, but because we face it with love. Because we believe in beauty, in connection, in possibility. Because we know that joy is not a luxury. It is essential to our spirits. In a world that can be so heavy, joy keeps us buoyant. As the writer and activist Audre Lorde said, caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation. My friends, practicing joy is not frivolous. It is faithful. Now let's go back to the sharing part, because there's another more defined practice I'd like to talk to you about. And this is a practice that also may be more easily accessible to you if you're in a period of your life where focusing on your own joy or your own happiness isn't something that's super accessible to you right now. While I would encourage you to try to push through any resistance on that front, I also get it, and I also know that sometimes our own bodies and our own minds just don't have it in us. So I would offer this practice that helps to bolster both our own joy and also bolstering other people's joy. It's actually something I think I talked to you about before the very first time I visited you. As I was writing this, I was like, wait, did I do? But it's been a long time, so I think we can talk about it again. This is another Buddhist practice. There's a word, it's mudita, M-U-D-I-T-A. It's a type of a sympathetic joy practice in Buddhist tradition. Mudita is a Sanskrit and Pali word that translates as joy, but more specifically sympathetic joy, or the delight we feel in other people's joy. In Buddhism, mudita is one of the divine abodes, or virtues that should be cultivated in order to live with an open heart. In his book, Love and Rage, author, activist, and Tibetan Buddhist teacher Lama Rod Owens introduces us to this practice of sympathetic joy in a fairly accessible way. He says that first we can start by recognizing our own joy and wishing that it could spread. We imagine ourselves as a being that can share joy with others. Our joy is not something we own or something that we even earn. Rather, it's an energy that can be shared. So when we recognize our own moments of joy, we don't simply acknowledge them with gratitude and move on. On top of that gratitude, we pause and imagine giving that experience of joy to others, especially those who could really use that energy in that moment. Owen says that the happiness you can offer to others can come from any source, from something as simple as smelling a sweet-smelling flower to experiencing physical pleasure to experiencing a hard-won moment of success. Cultivating this practice of giving away joy can help us to stop seeing our own joy as property or as something that we've earned and now somehow own. We see it as a shared exchange, as a much-needed resource in the world. This means that we can take a second step and begin a practice that opens us up to experiencing other people's joy. This work of opening our minds to the energy of others when we see them happy is, again, to quote Owens, an edgy practice. He explains this by saying, it's because we are called to take part in the happiness of people who receive things that maybe we believe should be ours, or we believe that the person experiencing happiness does not deserve it. Anybody else ever been there or fought that demon? To get around this, he suggests that we take the time to imagine the feeling of joy that we may have some jealousy of in the moment. Just imagine how happy that person must feel, and maybe also imagine the hard work that person must have gone through to achieve that experience. In time and with practice, we may feel less jealousy of others, that's a good side effect, and start defaulting to a place where joy is shared more freely, and that mudita, that sympathetic joy, comes more naturally. If we allow ourselves to imagine a world where joy is a shared energy, and that our default response to seeing it is one of shared happiness and not jealousy, it's not hard to start imagining a world that is full of more abundance, where delights are multiplied, where we can find not just more fuel to push ahead in our work, but also we can start creating energy that may draw more people into the work with us. What if our joy was more contagious? Writer and activist Tony Cade Bambara said, and it is our duty to make the revolution irresistible. As we work to dismantle oppressive systems both in society and within ourselves, we can easily become exhausted. Bambara teaches us that the fuel we need to propel ourselves forward exists in finding a desire for that future we are building that doesn't just include justice, it also includes joy. In her book, Pleasure Activism, writer and facilitator Adrienne Marie Brown has put together a manual for cultivating more pleasure and embodied joy in our own lives. And she also calls us to incorporate that same joy into our justice work. She asks us these questions. 1, how would we organize and move our communities if we shifted the focus to what we long for and love rather than what we're negatively reacting to? And 2, is it possible for justice and pleasure to feel the same way in our collective body? Could we make justice and liberation the most pleasurable collective experiences we have? Both Bambara and Brown teach us to say yes to ourselves and to a future that includes our whole selves. Owens and other Buddhist teachers teach us to say yes to our own joy and as to joy as a liberating practice. My friends, I know that these days have a darkness to them and that the world is in so much pain and needs so much healing. And I'm not suggesting that cultivating and sharing joy is the only tool we need. But I am suggesting that it is one that we do in fact need. In these times when life is hard and weary and often scary, I encourage all of us to hang on to our joy and allow ourselves happiness when we can find it. I pray that we allow ourselves not only to experience this joy, but also to see it, just as the hardships we face, as a means of highlighting our connectedness to one another and a motivator to continuing to press forward, to continue building a new way. Before I move to a close, I do want to talk to you a little bit more about my friend Pam. I met Pam at Camp Bluebird, a place I've talked to you about before. It's an organization where I spent about 12 years volunteering. It serves as a twice-a-year retreat for adults who have experienced or who are experiencing cancer. So the camp's mascot and namesake is the bluebird, and it's now seen as a bit of a mythical creature in the community of Camp Bluebird. Those of us who have spent a lot of time there start to imagine any sightings of bluebirds as representing visits from our fellow campers and friends who have passed away. At the end of every camp session, we hold a memorial service outside, and I promise you, each and every time we spot at least a few brilliantly blue bluebirds perched on a fence. So yesterday, a bit after I thought I had wrapped up this sermon, my family and I visited a park about a mile from our house so our kids could spend some time outside on the playground in this beautiful weather. I took our dog, Posey, with us so that she and I could get some exercise while the kids played. And so I walked this fairly short loop around the park a few times. And on the third or fourth time around, I noticed a shot of blue sail past me. There were two bluebirds that lighted on a bench not far from where I was, and I just stopped in my tracks. I had written that bit about Pam maybe 2 hours beforehand. Right there and right then, as one of the miracles she had promised happened right in front of me. Now, one of the birds flew away pretty quickly, but another one stayed right there on the bench, and I slowly moved closer with my very, very excited golden doodle. I perceived this little bird staring right at me, and tears started to stream down my face. And I just said quietly, with joy and with gratitude, "Hi, Pam." Mary Oliver instructed us on living a life in this way: pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. In that moment yesterday, I was so lucky to be paying attention. I was so lucky and so blessed to have that astonishing joy wash over me, and I felt like I should probably share it with you now. Miracles are all around us. Joy is all around us, and this week I invite you to practice it. Start small, take 5 minutes, notice something beautiful, share it with someone, make space for something that fills you up. Let yourself laugh, let yourself rest, and when you do, know that you are not alone. You are part of a long tradition of people, seekers, dreamers, skeptics, believers who dare to choose joy, who prioritize its practice, who find the energy to celebrate it, cultivate it, and proliferate it into the world around them. Even now, even here, even still. May your joy continue. May it be so. Amen. Now, I ask you to please once again rise in body or in spirit as you are so moved to join us in our closing hymn, number 1039 in the teal hymnal. Be thou, no, that's not right. Oh, we give thanks.
10:10. We give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and this far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here this day.
Let's now take a moment to extinguish our chalice with these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we're together again.
As we move towards the close of our service, let us listen to these sacred words from the beloved poet Mary Oliver. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give into it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We are not wise and not often very kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb. And now I'd like to welcome Melody up to lead us in a blessing of these prayer flags.
Hello, everyone. We Unitarian Universalists accept and even study many different faith traditions. Because of our open-minded approach, we often discover practices that we think make sense. We borrow or incorporate these traditions into our own lives, acknowledging that faith or that culture that originated it. The Tibetan people have a tradition of making and hanging prayer flags. Squares of cloth are decorated with words and symbols that represent their prayers. The flags are hung in the wind and weather, and their belief is that the wind carries the prayers to the Creator. This is not unlike the Native American belief that smoke from the pipe carries the prayers to the Great Spirit. So the members of this church have made their own Tibetan-style prayer flags that will be hung in our new patio garden. Many of you helped decorate one or more of those flags. I bet you can probably even spot your flags as they go by. So Susan Coddington, where did Susan go? There she is. So Susan Coddington generously donated the fabric and a whole lot of hours of work cutting these pieces of fabric, hemming them, and then after you all decorated them, to sew them onto the cords together. So I'd like for us to acknowledge Susan. Can we give her a round of applause? Now, what we're going to do as soon as our flags get there, oh good, I didn't tie them in too bad a knots. They managed to get them off. We didn't rehearse this part, you all. You're going down the center aisle. So what we're going to ask you to do is to move out of your seats towards the aisles. So some of you come to the center, some of you go to the sides. The idea is that you're going to get to where you can put your hand on the prayer flags. So you all reach out and just lay a hand on the flag, on the top or on the bottom, as you are able. If you can't physically maneuver to there, just hold the hand of somebody who is holding on to a flag. And when everybody's in position so that they have a connection to the flag, there we go, we're getting there. Andy, you got to be touching somebody or something back there. All right, we got it. So if you all will please pray with me, we're going to do a blessing of the flags and then they'll be hung in the garden. Please pray with me. Oh, holy mystery, we gather today to offer our prayers and blessings out into our troubled world, to the wind, to the sky, and to all beings and spirits. We are here to bless these prayer flags, to send out our wishes for peace, compassion, and all that is expressed in these flags, to send these prayers out into the world. These flags are not just pieces of cloth, but they are carriers of our prayers and aspirations, symbols of our hope for a better world. May all beings be free from suffering. May they find happiness and peace, and may their lives be filled with joy and compassion. May the wind carry our prayers to every corner of the world, and may the sky be a witness to our good intentions. May these flags, filled with our prayers, bring blessings and joy to all who see them. Now, in a moment of silence, if you will add your own personal blessing. And when you are finished, you can let go of the flags. Our flag carry teams will move them to the garden where they will be hung during coffee hour. That completes our flag blessing ceremony for today. Eventually, when the flags have faded and tattered, they will have their final ceremony, which is to burn the last bits of them. The Tibetan people believe that this process releases the final energy of the prayer flags into the world. Rachel is at the back to greet you. Coffee, tea, and I happen to know rice pudding are available in the fellowship hall. Let's all go out singing our rite of community, Be Thou With Us.
Be thou with us now and always, now and always. Blessed be.
Thank you, everyone.